Welcome to Inspiring Nations with Sonja Keeve Podcast Show. Question: where do you draw your inspiration? Join us as we feature women across the globe with incredible stories of how they inspire nations every day. Now, here is your host, Sonja Keeve.
Well, hello, everyone. And this is another exciting edition of Inspiring Nations. I am your host, Sonja Keeve, and it is truly my pleasure to bring another amazing woman to my show. And we have the amazing Miss Dawn Lewis. And let me just tell you a little bit about her. She is a CEO and president and is known as an unapologetic Black woman who is reconciling her socio-political worldview with her spiritual journey. And tonight she is going to share her thoughts on how you can pursue your possibilities. And so without further ado, for my listening audience, please welcome to the show, Miss Dawn Lewis. Hello, superstar.
Good evening. How are you?
I am amazing. And I'm just so happy that you are here today. And I'm just really excited to have you.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. And, I know a little bit about you, and I'll share that later in the show. But I want you to just share for our listening audience who you are and whom you serve.
Okay. As you said, I'm the president and CEO of DCL Enterprises. It's a management consulting and executive and personal leadership organization, among other things.
Okay.
And the population that I serve is anyone that's interested in achieving their goals but are blocked. My primary audience is Black women, but I serve a variety of clients. And just recently I did a vision board experience with some young ladies that were high school students.
Okay.
Were a high school here in Baltimore, where we talked about what they wanted to do beyond high school. And the vision board creations that these young ladies put together were awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel really good that I was able to facilitate a little bit of that for them.
Well, I am so just amazed that you are doing this, because truly this whole idea of just trying to get unstuck. And truly, we're going to talk later about pursuing the possibilities. Young people, especially, it is critical. Because I think, I don't know about you, but I know when I was coming up, we just always were asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? But we were never really taught, how to create that vision for your future. And so to know that you're doing this with young people is one of the main reasons why I love this show, because it puts a spotlight on women like yourself who are truly giving back in the community and truly bringing up the next generation of leaders, especially our women.
Yes.
So as we talk about your business, you mentioned that, it is like a personal development consulting business. Yeah. So what are some of the clients that come to you? What are some of their pain points?
So I have women who are on a grind with a day-to-day job, and they have something in them in terms of wanting to do something for themselves. But for a variety of different reasons, they're afraid, or they have obligations that they feel like if they step out on faith that they won't be able to sustain and deal with their obligations effectively. And so I help them work through some of those challenges.
And I know that this, for my listening audience, I know there are people who are listening right now who are probably raising their hand going, that's me, because I know I've been in that space.
Yes.
And so what are like some of the very first steps that you walk a client through when they're coming to you and they say, Dawn, like I work a 9 to 5. I am miserable on my job but I don't even know what that thing is that's really going to take me to the next level.
So let me just give you an example. So I have one person who complains to me quite often about the different jobs that she has held. There's always a person or a situation or something on the job that is just getting on her nerves.
Yeah.
And she always wants to complain to me. And so one day she was complaining to me, and I wasn't being responsive, you know. And she said something like, you know, I don't know what it is about me being in these situations all the time where I'm just miserable on these jobs. And so I was silent for a couple of seconds, and I said, do you want me to really tell you what it is? And she said, yeah. I said, it's fear.
Yeah.
And she was silent for a minute, and she asked me, what did I mean? And I said, because you also talk about the fact that you really should be working for yourself. You know, if you're going to be grinding, you should be grinding for yourself. But you haven't made that step. You haven't made that move. And so you need to figure out why. Yeah. And how can I help you with that? And so so she was a little irritated with me, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes people find it hard to, you know, acknowledge the truth, right?
Truth hurts.
But she circled back with me, and we started to map out some stuff. You know, she started talking about, you know, the kinds of things that she wanted to do that could be self-sustaining.
Okay.
And then we started looking at how she could get some financing for some of that stuff.
Okay.
And I had her make goals, and she had to. Yes.
So that, you know, so they're like, you know, I want to have a business, but I have no idea if it's really going to work.
Right.
And so this whole idea, as we talk about pursuing your possibilities, what is your take on that subject?
Well, I think that, one of the things that I talk about too is being open to the possibilities, right?
Right.
Because sometimes stuff shows up in our lives that are signs that you should go in a certain direction.
Right.
And if you're not paying attention to those signs, you could miss an opportunity.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so what I have found is that sometimes when I make a decision, things start aligning in support of that decision.
Yes.
And I notice it because I'm open to noticing it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but sometimes you're not open to noticing those things because you're so distracted with the daily minutia of your life.
Yes.
And so I always recommend to my clients that if they don't already have a spiritual life, they should get a spiritual life.
Well,
because part of being open to the possibilities is recognizing that there is something greater than yourself working in your life.
Yes.
Whether you see it or not, or recognize it or not. But the more you practice whatever your thing is spiritually, the more open you become to seeing those things happening in your life. And you start paying more attention to it.
Amen. So this leads me to my next question. So what are some of the daily spiritual practices that you implement in your daily life?
So I do prayer meditation. When I was teaching my personal leadership class, I would tell my students that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening. And that's why I do that hand in hand, because it's one thing to communicate, just like with people, right?
Yeah, right.
It's one thing to communicate and say what you need to say. It's another thing to sit in silence and listen for a response.
Yes.
So I do that, and then I fast.
Yes.
I fast every Wednesday, and then I also fast for different periods of time during the year.
And I absolutely love fasting, because I have found, and for my listeners, and you can answer if you've had the similar experience, but during the fast, your body is coming under submission.
Yes.
To the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
And in that is where you get your clarity, because with fasting, you are releasing all of the toxins that you take into your body, whether it's the type of music you're listening to the type of television shows, to even the food or drink that you intake into your body. And what happens during a fast, for those who are listening who may not ever gone through one, what it allows you to do is to get to a place of stillness.
Yes.
And in that place of stillness comes clarity.
Clarity, yes.
Right?
Indeed.
And so this whole idea of pursuing the possibility you mentioned earlier, that you first of all have to be open to it. So once you become open to the possibility, what becomes the next step?
Just trying to decide what it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes that takes some time too, right? Because you have to be realistic.
Yes.
About what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have one client who, had these grand ideas, no judgment, right?
No.
But, that was possible, but there were some things that needed to happen before that.
Yes.
In order for that grand thing to materialize or manifest.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why I like doing the vision board activity.
Yeah.
Because it helps you get clarity, right? And it also is a fluid kind of activity. So you may have something on your vision board today, and with new information and new experiences, you add some additional things to your vision board.
Yes.
And over time, those things could start to manifest based on your openness to what's coming.
Yes.
So the other thing too is that you have to understand that you don't always have control. Sometimes you have to sit still and allow whatever's happening to happen.
Yes.
And not try to control or direct, what that is.
Right.
Because you could do more harm to your process by interfering.
And I second, third that statement. Because don't we, as women, especially because we are so accustomed taking care of everyone else, making the decisions, even when we're asked not to.
Yes. You still figure out a way to be all in it.
Yes, and sometimes we mess up our own blessings because we jump in before the breakthrough can happen.
Exactly.
And so the whole idea of, again, opening yourself up to possibilities, the vision board, I absolutely love that idea. But I want to get your thoughts on, people do the vision board. Because we have people that do it all the time. It's famous with girls' night out events.
Yes.
But what I find, and it's funny you mentioned the vision board, and my listening audience can't see it; you can only hear it.
Yes.
But for my video, here is my vision board, right?
Yes.
And it was something very simple, and on my vision board, it talked about, we had to do the exercise of, where do you see yourself, as it relates to your business. And I put making more breaking records, being mindful, and health and happiness. But what happens is the vision boards get done and then they sit on a shelf and there's no action behind it. So do you find for some of your clients, they'll do this vision board, but then they don't follow through with execution?
Yeah, I do find that. And I try to, encourage them to continue to work on it. Let me show you mine real quick.
Okay. And for my listening audience, because you can't see this, Dawn's vision board has in big letters, game changer. It says, what? Me worry? Question mark. A leap of faith. Someday is today. And something about balance. It's hard to see it, but on the side.
But
it talks about balance.
This was my employee to entrepreneur vision board.
Ooh.
Right? Because even for me, it took me a minute to step out on faith.
Yeah.
And acknowledge that this is something that I've wanted to do for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of my clients, I was afraid because, I have mortgage and car note and, you know what I mean, responsibilities, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, I was allowing my fear to interrupt my faith.
Yes.
And this, putting this vision board together helped me to reconnect with my faith.
Yes.
So that I could step out and do what it is that I've always wanted to do, which is have my own business.
And I'm so glad that you shared that, because so many times women who go from their corporate job to stepping out on faith and entrepreneurship, some don't like to share the truth about being a full-time entrepreneur is scary.
Mm-hmm.
And it is also not for the faint at heart.
Mm-mm.
Because because fear and faith cannot operate in the same space.
Indeed.
And so for my listening audience, this whole idea of pursuing possibilities, Dawn was able to step and move past her fear into faith to realize her possibilities. But for so many people who are going, how did you know how to do it? Was it truly your spiritual foundation that allowed you to move into that space? Because, some people who don't have that strong foundation from a spiritual perspective, may ask, well, what do I do? I mean, I do want to move into that space, but I don't know how. And even if I've identified, yes, I am fearful, is the vision board really going to help me? And so do you see that as helpful in many aspects with your clients, that when they can see it visually, it begins to manifest in their mind?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me just say this too. My father, I'm a daddy's girl.
Okay.
My father is a retired entrepreneur.
Okay.
So, I have that in my story, right? In fact, I worked for my father for about 5 years.
Okay.
In the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
And which I'm dating myself when I say that, right? So I have that legacy of entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
and the reality is, if I'm going to be real honest, one of the reasons why I took my time in actually making the decision is because I thought that I was going to be married and have like a little safety net with someone that was going to be covering me, and you know what I mean, and all of that. And so I prolonged the process by waiting on that. And that did not materialize.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say it won't, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I need to do a vision board about that, right? But meanwhile, I felt like I just needed to just go ahead and do what is already burning inside me.
Yes.
So.
And so
that I tell, some of my clients too,
Yeah.
You can't wait for other folk to align with what it is that you're trying to do.
That's a hashtag moment. Hashtag don't wait for other people to align with what you need to be doing.
Exactly.
You heard it here on Inspiring Nation. So let's fast forward. I mean, because this whole pursuing possibilities is an awesome topic. And so the reason why I know you is because you and I got the opportunity to share on a book project, an anthology entitled Women Inspiring Nations.
Yes.
And so for our listening audience, tell us what your chapter was about.
So my chapter talked about 3 different events in my life that led me to what I believe is my purpose, which is to share my story, particularly with Black women, to inspire and inform and facilitate healing. And the most significant event from the chapter was my relationship with a man who became abusive. And during that relationship, I used drugs as a way to cope. And how there was a spiritual kind of thing that happened during that period of time of me from using to recovery that I can only describe as what my father would say is a God thing.
Yes.
And in fact, one of my friends read the chapter, and that was something that they did not know about me, this particular, part of my story.
Right.
And they said when they read that part of the story, it gave them goosebumps because this random person saw me on the street one day when in the throes of my addiction. I was waiting for the bus to go to work. And 6 months later, 9 months later, that same person recognized me when I was in an NA meeting and reminded me that they had said to me that day on the street in the rain, they said to me, "I hope I see you in the rooms." And at the time, I didn't know what that meant. And when I saw him at the meeting, he said to me, "I'm glad you made it."
Ooh.
Perfect stranger. I mean, he later became my spiritual advisor. But this was a perfect stranger who saw me at a time when I was not well, basically.
Yeah.
And was in the process of getting well when we saw each other again. And he recognized me.
And I totally believe in divine connections and that nothing just happens by circumstance.
Indeed.
It is truly divine connections because you and I are in totally different states. We didn't run in the same circles.
That's right.
But yet we ended up on the same project, and your story resonates with so many people I know that I've had friends in the abusive relationships. I've had friends who have used drugs, and to watch the transformation from going from your valley experience to your mountaintop triumph is powerful. And that is the reason why this show exists, because I want to showcase women like yourself who are just doing it, not making the excuses. Like I said at the top of the hour, you are unapologetic about what you've been through, and you are not making the excuses that, I was here, but now I'm in this space. I'm in the room.
Yes.
And for so many women who are listening, I hope you're listening well, that you can get in the room, but you've got to lean in.
Yes.
You've got to get a seat at the table. And to get there, it begins with getting over that fear.
Yeah. And if you do have some things in your story that are painful and uncomfortable, you got to break the shackles of shame.
Yes.
And peel back the scabs and let that sunlight, on that so that it can begin to heal, because otherwise, everything is going to be a challenge. It's going to be just that much harder to do whatever it is that you really want to do. So.
Ooh. And so, before I let you go, you're doing so many amazing things, and I watch you on social media and I watch, your journey. But for those who don't know you, how can they get in touch with you?
So I'm on, my website is dclenterprisesllc.com.
Okay.
And I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, and just Google Dawn Lewis, or search in those platforms for Dawn Lewis. And except for LinkedIn, the picture that'll come up is a black ankh, which is the Egyptian symbol for life.
Nice. And I didn't even know that. And I just learned something new.
Yes.
I love that.
And it's also, that symbol is also part of my my company logo.
Awesome. And so what is next for Dawn Lewis?
So I will be speaking in October at a women's narrative, and my topic is something that was also very painful recently, and it has to do with the loss of my brother and how I'm surviving that loss. So that's my next big deal. But I'm still receiving clients and open for business around that, particularly around the coaching piece. And I'm currently working on a doctorate degree that I hope to finish this year. And my scholarly interests are cultural intelligence, intercultural competency, and diversity and inclusion.
Well, kudos to you, my sister. Continue to just do the amazing work that you're doing, because I see you and I see the intention is real, and you're going to bless so many women who are maybe right now listening, going, I need to change. I need to pursue my possibilities. Because one of my favorite quotes always is by Wes Moore. And he says that I would rather flirt with failure than to never have danced in my joy.
Yes.
And so for the women listening, for my men who are listening, I want you to pursue your possibilities. And then before I let you go, because I just, want to continue to thank you so much for, saying yes to being my guest today. I love to always ask my guests before they leave. There are 3 words I'm going to mention to you, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind when you hear it. Mm-hmm. And the first word is faith.
Resilience.
Love.
Everywhere.
Inspiration.
Creativity.
Well, Miss Dawn Lewis, it was truly my pleasure to have you on my show today.
It's my pleasure. It's been a blessing. I appreciate you very much for even offering it to me.
And we look forward to just watching you grow and continuing to shine in your gifts as you truly continue to pursue all your possibilities.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Inspiring Nations with Sonja Keeve. I challenge each of you to perform one simple act of kindness and pass it forward. For more information on how you can be a guest on our show, visit www.sonjakeeve.com. We hope to see you next time.